Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome to today's session. So excited to have you all with us today. We have a big group joining us, which is really exciting. Hello. Right, so top of the hour, so let's get started. Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to have you all here with us today. I'm Parisa Golchubian, in case we haven't met. I'm the founder of Artterra, and today I'm here with Chris Mitchell, which is going to present us on setting your professional focus for 2024, which is really exciting. This is the first speaker call we're having inside the Art and Design Hub that we recently launched. The Art and Design Hub is a place where we intend interior designers, artists, and creators of all forms come together to really share knowledge and learn about how art, design, and all that can bridge and work together. So we are super excited to have Chris with us today. I am going to read a little bit about Chris and why we choose her as the first person to present here. Super excited to have you. So Chris Mitchell is a professional coach who supports artists and creative professionals at pivotal points when they need help to take their career to the next level or a new direction. Her own experience as a creative professional has evolved over 3 decades of leadership positions in creative and art-based businesses and non-for-profits organizations in Toronto. She works side by side with artists and creatives at all stages of their careers to support them to strategize their direction, realize creative projects and goals, gain confidence in their potential and ability, and to build sustainable and fulfilling careers and lives as creative professionals. Welcome, Chris. We are so excited to have you here. I am going to hand over to you to introduce yourself a little bit more and walk us through what you have prepared for us today.
Sure. Thank you so much, and Happy New Year, everyone. I'm so happy to be starting the year with this first workshop, gathering with all of you today to help you set your professional focus for 2024. Just a little bit more about myself in terms of my coaching practice. Thank you so much for the introduction, Carissa. But in terms of how I work with my clients, I really like to describe that I work with individual clients as a thinking partner, providing one-to-one support. And that's how I'm going to work with you today in this workshop, really providing some questions and prompts to help you sort of take stock of where you're at the beginning of this new year, and to then identify some areas that you want to put more focus towards in this coming year. So let's dive right in. I had a little question for you just to get a sense of who is here. And if you would just type in the chat, share your name, where you're joining from, and your reaction to this statement. Whatever sustains and grows my practice is my practice.
Oh, wow. I love that.
And well, people. Kim Lee from Brampton. Hi, Kim Lee. Nice to see you again. Thanks for joining today. And Carissa, I think we've worked together before too. Great to see you. Thanks for joining. Very helpful reminder that it's not all about the finished product, Leanne. Yes. Pam from Toronto, Olga from Toronto, Tara from Toronto, Saskatchewan, Elijah. Andrea from Chatham. I lived in Chatham for a while when I was a teenager. Hello. Thanks for joining. Rachel from Vancouver. I like that perspective. It's helpful. Thanks, Kimley. That's great. So really, today I want to use a tool which a lot of you have downloaded from my website. So, and there's many different ways that this tool can be used, but I call it the wheel of creative practice, business, or career, because I do work with all types of creatives, and there are many different ways of building a creative career and life. And this is based on a popular coaching tool for self-assessment called the Wheel of Life. But I've adapted it to help creative professionals think about their work and life in a more holistic context of development. Because I believe, and from my own experience and have seen from working with my clients, that when we see what feeds and sustains our opportunities, growth, and livelihood from a holistic way, that's where we can start to be really intentional about our goal setting and where we're putting our attention and energy. Oh, somebody shared the link for those who haven't, but it's also on the slide. So don't worry if you didn't get a chance to download that. So I just want to start with spending some time, and I'm going to walk you through this. Taking a snapshot of where you're at right now at the start of 2024, and to invite you to think about these 10 areas that I have seen are integral to creative practice, business, or career. Some of them may be more integral to your particular practice or career or business than others. But just to start to think about, your level of satisfaction in each of these areas. And so this is not to kind of rank your level of achievement, but more to think about it in terms of satisfaction starting off this year in 2024. So let's just start at the beginning, at the sort of bottom left of this wheel with technique and skill. And think about kind of ranking yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, your current level of satisfaction with your techniques, your level of skills, and that could be in relation to your particular art form, or in other areas of your practice, like marketing or the administrative part of your work. So thinking about your current level of satisfaction in that area, in terms of technique and skill. Whatever that means to you. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being like I'm absolutely satisfied, and 1 being I'm not satisfied at all.
And Chris, this is in respect to the art creation itself or business as well?
Well, it could be, you might want to think about it in each of those areas. Like there may be some areas where you're feeling like, I know that, often when it comes to social media, people feel that they are not satisfied with their level of skill or technique. But in general, just if you were to think holistically in your practice, how satisfied are you with your current level of technique or skill?
Okay.
And for those of you, I know there were a few people who joined late, so just to catch you up, we are using this tool, the Wheel of Creative Practice, Business, and Career, to take kind of a snapshot of where we're at the start of the year in terms of our satisfaction level, so that we can then start to look at areas where we might want to put more focus in 2024. So moving on to productivity. So whatever productivity means to you, your satisfaction with your current level of productivity. So that could mean things like access to like getting into that flow state, your ability to do that. That could mean your productivity in terms of like actually finishing projects and completing, works of art. That could mean, you know, in terms of being able to manage multiple projects or aspects of your practice. So what is your current level of satisfaction, not accomplishment, in terms of your level of productivity? And just sort of write the first number that pops into your head. Don't overthink it too much. Then think about balance. And the reason that I include this in the wheel of creative practice, business, and career is because this is something that a lot of clients come to me for help with. And sometimes this means balance in terms of prioritizing their creative practice in their life, in terms of the amount of time and energy that they have to put into it. Sometimes it means balancing different aspects of their practice or different modalities of their practice. If they are multidisciplinary artists, sometimes that means just general life work balance, especially those who have work freelance or have businesses around their creative practice and can get into habits or perspectives that you know, they can just never take time off, or they always have to work till, you know, 10 o'clock at night or whatever. So looking for, so whatever balance means to you, what's your current level of satisfaction with your balance in your creative practice, business, or career? And then influence or impact. And that can mean a lot of different things to different people. That can mean the influence or impact that you are feeling that you are having on your audience for your work, or within your community of peers, within the cultural community at large. Or if you have a activist-based practice or values-based creative business that is trying to influence or impact the world in a certain way, that might be relevant to you, or it may not be relevant at all. So just in terms of how important influence or impact is to you and your current level of satisfaction. And then creativity. How satisfied are you with your level of creativity, or where you're at in terms of your ability to be creative and bring your creativity to your work at the beginning of this year? And finance. So this could mean, you know, revenue that you are generating from your practice or business. This can mean the systems and structures and routines that you have in place around keeping on top of the financial aspects of your business. How satisfied are you in where it comes to the areas of finance with your practice? And what about professional networks and relationships? Rate yourself there, your current level of satisfaction. Or the administrative aspects of your practice. What's your current level of satisfaction at the start of this year? So this can mean being, you know, documentation of your work, administration of your website, organization of project management, applications, that kind of thing. The administrative aspects of your practice. How satisfied are you? And what about your growth and learning? And your opportunities to grow and learn? How satisfied are you with that? And then visibility and promotion, which can also mean marketing, How satisfied are you with that? And then is there anything else that is integral to your practice, your specific practice or business, that would be important for you to think about? And think about your level of satisfaction. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. So now that everybody has had a chance to sort of think about these aspects, I'll just give you another few seconds here to nail down your satisfaction levels. I want to spend a few minutes, oh, sorry, I'm trying to change my slide, to think about in relation to looking at how you've sort of scored yourself, to reflect on 2023 and last year and identify, maybe just circle or put a star beside the areas of your practice that you were kind of really focused on in 2023. And then ask yourself, like, think about, were you laser focused on a singular area that just noticed, or was your focus spread over a few or perhaps too many areas? Just notice that. So Kim Lee says, I needed multiple areas to work together in 2023. And that's true for that, I'm sure, many of us. But sometimes we need to do, you know, a little bit of heavy lifting or really focused work in specific areas in order to have everything working together. So I'm just asking you to notice that. And also think about, thinking back on last year, was your focus in these areas primarily proactive, or was it circumstantial and reactive? Maybe that was different in different cases for experience.
No, the buds are not sure.
So then I want you to think about and maybe make some notes, you know, focusing on the areas that you did, the ones that you've identified that you were really focused on in 2023. What did that serve? How did you benefit as a result? Emily says, because of a major solo exhibition, right? Like, but you have to focus on very specific things when you have that kind of a presentation opportunity coming up. So it's a little bit of proactive and reactive. I would maybe offer, Kimberly, as you said in the comments here, because you know, you made the decision to go for the opportunity. That's a proactive decision. But then you have to, you know, be planning and reactive to the deadlines and the deliverables that you've agreed to. So think about, you know, those areas that you were focused on and how you benefited. Did your satisfaction level improve over the last 12 months in those areas? Someone else had a year of discovery on the style and what I really niched into. Served me well, but I really lacked growth in others. Yeah, that makes sense. Revamped my website, wrote my artist statement, Alyssa said, which helped me clarify what I'm trying to do. Cool. So that was the benefit of focusing on that. That was maybe not an unintended benefit of focusing on that. So then I mean, some of you have already written in the chat of what that not serve, but you know, on the areas, think about like, what did focusing on those areas not serve for you? So, you know, sometimes when we say yes to or go all into focusing on one thing, it means that some other things get kind of left behind or fall off our radar. Right, Leanne said focusing on creating small works for some shows meant I wasn't necessarily exploring the other work I really wanted to do. And Alyssa, working on her website, said I spent so much time on that, I didn't prioritize getting art done. That can happen. So now that you've had a chance to sort of reflect on 2023 and where your focus served you and where it didn't, think about sort of a fresh look at this wheel of creative practice, business, or career. What do you want that to look like this year? What areas of your creative practice, business, or career do you want to put more attention towards in 2024? And I want to invite you to be choosy, somewhat choosy, as opposed to kind of having that feeling of, well, I should be able to do it all or make all of this work at once. So if you had to pick 2 or 3 areas that you needed to put more focus on in 2024, that you want to put more focus on, what would they be? All right, Samo wants to put more attention to balance, finance, and visibility. Pam, creating an inventory of paintings and being in a show or two. So that would fall into the kind of admin portion and the visibility and promotion. So once you've kind of identified those areas, those areas that you want to put a bit more focus towards in 2024, I want you to really articulate for yourself, why is it important to focus on these areas now? Why this year? So Olga has a question here, how to put a focus on creativity. And I'm hoping maybe some of these questions that are going to follow will help you figure that out, Olga, but maybe we can circle back to that at the end too. So hopefully you've identified some areas that you want to put more focus on, and you got it clear in your mind why it's important to focus on that this year. then I want you to think about what would improve your satisfaction rating in these areas that you want to put more focus on. What would make you feel more satisfied in those areas? Time is coming up for a few people here. Drawing a blank on this one. Well, Elijah, maybe think about, like, why did you rank yourself where you rank yourself in those areas that you wanted to put more focus on? If your satisfaction level wasn't as high as you would like it to be, what is it that you're dissatisfied with? And how could you kind of like turn the tables on that? What would an improvement look like? So thinking about these areas that you want to improve in, put more focus towards, and improve your satisfaction rating. Think about, like, what's within your control to do that. What's within your absolute control? So somebody was asking me to repeat, but I'm not sure what they're asking me to repeat. Oh, sorry, that question, I guess, sorry. So the areas that you are choosing to put more focus on, and what's within your control to improve your satisfaction in those areas. So somebody identified earlier in the chat, just to share an example about streamlining their admin and sales process. Somebody else identified being proactive and more intentional with my time. Those are things that can be within your control. So specific to your practice or business and the areas that you specifically want to focus on, what's within your control? Someone else has identified setting a schedule and boundaries. So, there's some things that are kind of totally within our control or within our skill level, our capacity, but I also want you to think about, like, in which of those areas might you need some support or help? And what possible resources could provide that? Just like brainstorm a couple. Yeah, Pam's identified setting a schedule and boundaries, but it needs to be fluid. The need to be fluid makes it tough to follow the schedule I may create for myself. Yeah, sometimes it's our tendency, our just human nature is to take sort of an all or nothing approach. So, it's easier to sort of like work up to things and build our capacity than to feel like we have to do like everything at once, or have this, like, I'm gonna be doing this, you know, new thing every day for 4 hours, or setting ourselves up for that there has to be, like, there's only one way to do it. So you've got some things that you have identified, hopefully, that are within your control, and some things you might need help with, and hopefully some ideas of what sources could provide that support. So now I want to invite you to think about the actions that you would like to take towards improving your satisfaction in these areas that you want to focus on. So I want to invite you to think about, like, one or two things that you could do that are kind of like low-hanging fruit that you could do immediately, like within this week or this month. What are the low-hanging fruit that you could, actions that you could take immediately? And challenge yourself to come up with two, even if they feel like baby steps. Yeah, so Pam identified creating a schedule, like actually scheduling it. That's a step you can do immediately. Open up your calendar. All right, Alyssa, get a piece done for a juried show on the 28th. That's a few weeks away. So then stretch the horizon a little bit further and think about these areas that you want to focus on, and what are some actions that you could take within the next sort of 3 months. All right. Kim Lee has identified updating their CV and continuing drafting a proposal for an opportunity due in a few days. So that falls into the immediate action category. And then stretch that horizon line a little bit further. And what are one or two actions that you can take in each of those areas that you want to put more focus on within the next 6 months? So here we are in January. We're talking about, like, between sort of April and June. What are some actions that you could take in the spring? Or that would make sense to take within that time frame? And then I want you to think about 1 or 2 actions in those areas that you want to put more focus towards that you absolutely, by the end of 2024, want to make sure that you have taken. So that you have no regrets. So I just want to give everybody a few minutes if this has, make note of anything else that's important for you to make note of in relation to these areas that you want to put more focus towards this year. So anything else that you want to make note of for yourself. We'll just give everybody another minute or so to do that. Okay, so Alyssa has some solid goals here in terms of having a consistent creative practice, a body of work with a current theme, and a means of displaying and sharing with the larger community by the end of 2024. So those are some solid goals. So Alyssa, what are the actions that you need to take towards that? You've probably made note of that, but I just, to turn those goals into actions, what are the actions you need to take in the next 3 months, in the next 6 months? So I wanted to kind of end with this slide of this piece, which I got to experience in person a few years ago during a trip to the Gaspé in Quebec. It was part of an international garden design festival that's held at the Redford Gardens, and designed by Diana Balmoria and collaborators Dennis Pelly at NYU and Consul Zamar, who are marine engineers. And I just love this piece because the intention of this was to really direct the viewer's gaze and focus to the St. Lawrence River. And this property was close to the river, but the position of this was you could have kind of gotten lost in the garden and forgotten that you were near the river. So it was really, the goal was to link the site to its context and enhance the viewer's sense of coexistence with nature. And so I'm hoping that this workshop has helped you think about the broader context of your creative practice, business, or career, and to enhance your sense of focus and zero in on some horizon lines for 2024. So I'm curious if people would share in the chat, or if there's 1 or 2 people that want to put up their hands and share with their mic. What has this workshop brought into focus for you for 2024? What's your most important takeaway? Actionable steps, says Samo. Yeah, marry the vision to the steps. Yes. Hmm.
We
Alyssa,
have,
sorry,
Chris,
go
we
ahead.
have Kim Lee here who has
Great,
raised her
yeah.
hand. Yes, Kim, can unmute.
Okay. Hi.
Hi,
Nice to meet you online here.
yes,
Um,
nice to meet you too.
I found it, more than one thing was helpful, but the one that I think really helped turn something in my head was thinking about looking at the wheel and thinking about what specifically would increase my satisfaction in the areas that needed that. And that just, it's I think maybe it's the negativity bias in our brain that we'll look at the dissatisfaction and we'll be able to identify the areas in which we're dissatisfied and then kind of get stuck there and not end up always anyway figuring out how to get out of that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And, you know, in coaching, what we call it, what you've sort of spoken about is like the difference between this sort of like judgment mindset of like, I'm not satisfied and this is what I'm not satisfied with, and focusing on that, as opposed to that kind of growth mindset of like, what are the solutions? How can I approach this differently? How can I look at this differently? So
yeah, very
thanks for
helpful.
sharing that.
Thank you.
Anyone else wants to share? Can raise your hand or you can put it in the chat. Something that did come up for me too, Chris, and it's been mentioned quite a bit in the chat as well, is that as we were looking back at 2023 and you were asking us, where did you see yourself improve your satisfaction last year? And we realized that, well, that came at the cost of maybe neglecting some of the other ones or whatnot, but also made me realize that how much I had achieved last year.
Right.
Which also brings a sense of gratitude that, well, it's as Kimberly was saying, it's really easy to always focus on the negative and just be like, I'm looking at my chart and I'm looking at all my low numbers. I'm like, I should be doing more, but then I kind of miss that. Well, last year, the year before that, maybe other areas were lower, and I was actively working last year to maybe raise some of those. And we're all human, so we only have so much focus on so many things we can allocate.
Right. And Chris, I'm really glad that you raised that, because it's one of the things that comes up again and again with my clients about how the power of like acknowledging, like taking the time to reflect and acknowledge on the steps that we have taken, because we just tend to focus on this like giant to-do list of like the things that we haven't done or that we need to do or that aren't finished. And we don't always give ourselves credit for the steps that we have taken. And that's where like real like self-empowerment and motivation comes from. Not from looking at a mountain of things that you have to do, but actually what you've done.
Yeah, and as you mentioned too, some of them kind of in a interesting way not contradict, but they're not necessarily aligned. So for instance, for myself last year, I was really focused on building some systems and building some foundations, and that required me to kind of go into my own bubble and be less visible than the year before that. So it's kind of like it makes sense that when you're working on something, maybe some other thing would
Yeah.
kind of, it would be the price of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, and I just appreciated how you identified that as being like really foundational work to build from.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have so many great comments in the chat, so I'm gonna give you a minute to go through some of them.
Okay, cool. So why does the mountain never get smaller? Because we're ambitious. So somebody, Samo says acknowledging the work, that work and that growth was really good for me too. I like what Elijah said here, allowed me to reasonably accept myself a bit more and realizing I'm not going to achieve all areas at all times. Yeah. I mean, they're all important, but they don't all have to be focused on all the time, all at once. So it's about being really intentional and strategic about that. Consistent small growth is in focused areas better than scattering to do too many things. Allowed me to have a bit more love in what I'm doing and for myself. Some great wisdom there, Elijah. Thanks for sharing that.
Hello, I'm not sure if I'm on. It's Lori Cochran.
Hi,
Can you hear
Lori.
me?
Yes.
Hello. Just reflecting back, I like this question that you did halfway through. Why this year?
Yeah.
I think it was, what would you like to be more satisfied in? So maybe I checked a few boxes and then I went, well, I'm going to use the word finances because it hasn't been brought up.
Right.
So as visual artists, we, well, most of us maybe here are visual artists. And so I ticked that one. And then when you said why, I thought, well, yeah, why this year? Sometimes you have to be mindful what you tick because it, and I'll reference your image, which I think is quite fascinating because unfortunately, this wheel says it all. It would be nice if we have a very targeted focus, but as creatives, you always are organic. So I rather like the side steps because you don't always have that 10 steps forward. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I just did something on creativity where we also have connecting minds. I mean, I could get into the dopamine receptors on this. So, I thought that was good. Why this year? And I thought, well, I got to reevaluate that. I could answer the other one because it was maybe influence in being more impactful. And the other thing is when doing this, I think Parissa said it quite nicely. Not only is it a wheel, it's an accordion because last year might have been a high production year where you've almost come into what I call the postnatal blues. So you've given birth to the exhibition, you've given birth to your new business. And now you're saying, well, where are you on the scale? Well, we could all be twos because we just maybe gave birth to our baby. and we're going through sleep deprivation. So it's been a great exercise, and obviously it's provoked. So I do thank you.
Right. Well, and I think that's a really powerful image too, that it's not always projecting in a straight line out towards like a satisfaction level of 10, that these areas are going to accordion in and out at different times. That's a really very interesting and wise perspective, I would say. Thanks for sharing that. Anything else that anyone wants to share or comment on or questions?
I'm just really inspired by all the comments here. Thank you for all of you guys for sharing. But also don't be shy, unmute and let us hear your beautiful voice. And also Kate says the recognition that if I paint but don't do anything of the other parts, nothing will change. Yep, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Right. And so often we can think of some of these other areas on this wheel as being like outside of our work. Or we resent that having to spend time and energy on them, because it takes away, we see it as taking away from our like creative time, or practice. You know, as was it Kate, I think, who wrote that is, kind of that comment really illustrates, you know, the downside of that perspective of not looking holistically at your practice.
And we have Kate raise her hand. Hi,
Oh,
Kate.
Did you
Sorry, I
want
had a
to-
hard
Okay.
time finding the mute button there for a second. Hi, nice to see
Hi,
you.
Kate.
My camera's on, right? Can you see me? I don't see me, but as long as you can. Okay. So yeah, I find so much of this is for me, it's so mindset based, because I've been self-employed since 2006, and yet I can't start an art business to save my life, because other businesses I've done were, you know, in industries where I could just, the offer was the norm or what people expected. And like, of course, there were things that were unique and sort of set us apart and stuff, but this is me. This is my soul in acrylic on paper, right? Like I have not been able to reconcile the business part with the creative part. So I can paint all day long. I have no problems making messes, making things that nobody else would find interesting. Like I can do that all day long. But to actually sit down and be like, this is a business. This is a business. So it needs to have a website that, you know, is professional, and it needs to have, you know, a GST number, and it needs to have consistency in, you know, I would never have ever tried to run any of my other businesses without promotion and visibility. Like, it just was never in question, but I can't seem to do it with this. Breaking it down like this helped a lot, but I just wanted to share that because it's, I used to coach small business owners, and I know that for artists, there's this sense that it's like the art and the business aren't the same thing, but they are. I mean, they aren't if you don't want to sell anything, but I want to make money. Like, I finally, my 2023 was me letting go of my ideas around what business looks like, right? And I know there's a million expressive ways, but I somebody just commented, but you know, I'm self-employed for 20 years. Like I don't need to get creative with the business part. I need to implement, and I get really stuck on that. So, yeah, so I just wanted to share that because I don't think, you know, that's unique for artists.
Yeah,
but it's interesting.
Thank you for sharing that, Kate. And I think Kim Lee wrote something in the comments that you might want to read, that just some encouragement and perspective of, you know, don't make the idea of art as a business into a tight prison. We can do it in a million expressive ways. And I would offer that is very true. You know, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of creative professionals who have built their lives and careers and businesses in completely unique ways. There's no two the same. It doesn't have to be, you know, a rigid thing. That can also be a creative exercise.
Well, and
it
is a creative exercise, and that's kind of my point. But if no one sees my art, there's no ways. There is not a million ways if I won't leave the house. And that's kind of my point, is that I don't necessarily, you know, if you handed me, I don't know, a coffee shop and asked me to increase its sales, I could do that in the drop of a dime. But if you asked if you could come over and see my art, I'd probably come up with 40 reasons why you can't every single day.
Okay,
So
I
that's
hope
my
that
point.
there's something, I hope there's something on that wheel that you're gonna, some action that you've identified, even a baby step towards that. But thank you for sharing that.
And breaking it down like that made all the difference because it made it seem like small pieces as opposed to just looking at a mountain and going like, oh, I can't do this. So that is also sort of my reason for wanting to share and just say that kind of gave me a breath of air to
Great.
take the
Great
pressure
to
off.
hear. Thank you. And we've got someone
Thank you.
else with their hands up, so I'm not sure who that is. I can't see the names,
me,
but I think Carissa.
Alyssa.
Alyssa, hi.
Hi, I just wanted to respond to what Kate was saying, is I've so been there and I often am there still. The biggest gift I gave myself last year was hiring somebody to help me get my website done, because I knew I wouldn't do it. And I found a million reasons to avoid doing it the previous 2 years, and it had been defunct at that point. And it was the best thing I did. And, you know, you can find somebody who will do this for pretty cheap, because there's a lot of young people out there that can do this stuff and do it all day long. I found a gal who did it for $500, which, you know, it's a chunk of money, but I invested in myself, and it was absolutely worth it. I felt so much better when I did that. And yeah, it really pushed me to a whole different place. So that would be.
Well, congratulations for taking that step, Alyssa, and thank you for sharing that advice and your experience. We have just a couple more minutes. If there's anyone else, someone else has that's the hand clapping.
Thank you everyone for joining us. Chris, before we leave, I want to give you a few minutes to tell people where they can follow you, where they can learn more about the services you offer and all that stuff.
Thank you. Yes. So yes, I do have one more slide to share with some of that, and I'm happy to share the slides as a PDF with these links to be sent out to people who participated today. So I do have a newsletter that I send out monthly where I share my observations and my most recent kind of blog posts, and also coaching exercises and resources. If you want to subscribe to that, it goes out once a month. I do not email you beyond that, I promise. My blog is on my website. You can follow me at Chris Mitchell Coaches Creatives on Instagram. And if you are interested in exploring whether one-to-one coaching is a fit for you, you can reach me through my website. And I do offer a free 30-minute consultation, no strings attached, if you just want to get together and have a chat.
Wonderful.
And I should just offer also mention that in I think the follow-up thank you email to everybody, there's a mention of a special offer that I have on a tool that is available at I think pretty affordable price of $10 US with a discount for participating today, to take your planning beyond the exercise that we did today into more of a full-fledged plan for the year, action plan with some tools and strategies to help you stay on track. It's a tool called Set Your Creative Career Compass. It's my annual goal planning toolkit. So if you want to check that out, there's a special offer coming to you on that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Chris. I will be sharing those resources in the follow-up email after this. And thank you so much for your time and wisdom that you've generously shared with us today.
My pleasure. And thanks everybody for just being so engaged and participating in the chat and conversation. It was great.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful
session.
Has a
great 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. I learned a lot, and you've given us all a lot to think about, that's for sure. So thank you. Thank you so much. Everyone join me in thanking Chris, and we will be sending up a follow-up email. And yeah, stay tuned for the next upcoming speaker series that hopefully we'll have more coming soon. So stay tuned for that, and see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Have a great evening or rest of your day.